all of us.
Sinikezwe thina sonke.
The unleavened bread.
Isinkwa esingenamvubelo.
Bread without yeast.
Esingenaso isibiliso.
Hence Matthew 6, Jesus says, pray and say, our Father who art in heaven, thou kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And then he concludes by saying, give us today our daily bread. Give us today what? Our daily bread. Meaning, give us today daily appearances, daily encounters, because bread does not come apart from God revealing himself. If bread is given without yeast, God will manifest and reveal himself. What is yeast? Yeast means contamination, corruption. Because if there's yeast on the dough, it means that dough is already corrupted. But if it's given without yeast, Christ will surely manifest to confirm that gospel, to confirm those teachings as the unleavened bread. Unleavened bread. Bread without yeast. Meaning whoever eats it must have an encounter with God. Must have what? An encounter with God. This bread is not presented as a Passover. Passover might refer to a certain event that once happened. But when Jesus says, I will no longer eat with you this bread until it's fulfilled. Fulfillment, it means continuous. It will no longer be a past tense or Passover. It has reached a stage where it's complete. It's finished. It's finished. When it's finished, there is no room for yeast. The bread has finished its course. The bread has finished its course. It already went through the oven and it came out. So you can't add yeast there. Meaning preparation is finished. Preparation is what? Finished. You can only add yeast while it's still dough. So Jesus came not as dough. Man, not as dough. Meaning you cannot add or minus from the scriptures. It's not dough. It's not dough. The bread is already baked, finished. That's why God, when he took the Israelites out of Egypt, there was a time they were baking their own bread. And there was a time for manna. Manna came not as dough. Manna came not as dough. When manna comes down from heaven, there's no fingerprint of man. You cannot add yeast. It's bread coming from heaven, already completed. What matters is how do you eat it? How do you eat it? On this bread, yeast cannot be added, but yeast can be in you. The bread does not come with yeast, meaning the word of God. It does not come lacking. It does not come in short of the glory, grace, and mercy. It comes complete completed. Comes with everything. It comes with everything. So many are not aware of this trap. When God gives you the bread, are you found without yeast? Are you found without yeast? Meaning corruption and contamination. Give us our daily bread. Give us what? Our daily bread. It's not a dough, people. God does not give you a receipt. When they baked their own bread, God told them, don't put yeast. Do this, do this, do this. But still, the very same shadow of the reality, it did not direct them to the truth. Because when God opened heaven and gave them manna, He was trying to interpret the whole thing. No, in the wilderness, you must depend on the bread of life. Depend on my word. Don't depend on silver and gold that you came out with from Egypt. Depend on what I've spoken. I said I took you out of Egypt. I brought you to myself. So if I'm bringing you to myself, why must I fail? Why must I fail? God can never bring you to salvation and His salvation fails. No, the problem is people who come to Him. Salvation is complete. It does not short or lack anything. It's people who lack obedience. That's why we call it the finished works of the cross. Not half. It's finished. But some enter not in the finished works. They don't enter in the finished works. They enter with lack. Being full of yeast. Being full of what? Yeast. That's why Jesus came. Matthew 16, verse 6. He said to His disciples, be careful of the yeast of the Pharisees. Be careful of the yeast of the Pharisees. How will you pray and say, give us today a daily bread, while there's already a yeast in you? That bread will be affected. It will be affected. That's why if you take a seed and you just put fertilizers and you do not water, the seed will burn. The seed will be burned by the fertilizer. But the purpose of the fertilizer is to fertilize, to bring moisture. But if it's not watered, the seed will die. The same with the word of God. If the word comes and it finds you with yeast of the Pharisees, the word will be shocked. Because you don't live by the Spirit. You don't walk by the Spirit. Meaning something that must cause the word to germinate, to cause the bread to be broken. To cause the seed to be broken. So many are not aware of the yeast of the Pharisees. This prayer Give us today our daily bread. Are you without yeast? Are you without yeast? Can you cause appearances to come? Can you encounter God? Can your eyes be opened as you eat this daily bread?
Jesus.
Can your eyes be opened to recognize Him and to see Him? Luke 34, they were walking with Jesus. He was even asking them, what happened? But I was walking with Jesus Christ, was in Nazareth or Bethel. It is possible to find yourself praying to God, but kube ngathi uyamqoqela mara umboni ukuthi uqoqela umnikazi wezindaba umtshela inkinga zakho babanyakhulu umtshela into ayazi kuyipolice baba ngidinga ikari uyakwazi ukwazi yonke into yabona uyambalabalela ngoba umtshela into ayazi umtshela into ayaziyo ngawe yena okubalekile ukuthi uyangazi mina baba nginezinkinga uthi no uyangazi mina uyangazi mina hey baba bangithakatha uthi uyangazi mina na. You can find yourself praying, remembering, talking to Jesus, but you don't see Him. It will be an event on the ground, not an encounter in the spirit. Meaning you will be in the room and pray. You will remember you prayed in the room. You will remember I went on the mountain. But did you come out with an encounter? It remained as an event that took place without His appearance. Yeast is what blinds people to see God. And many are not aware. Yeast in these end days, it's teachings, it's preachings that you listened to. They became the yeast to blind you to see Christ. Now you've been walking with Him. You've been in church, but you were just walking. It's just though Christ is the bread of life, not a dough to be mixed. He is not a dough to be mixed. That's why it says those who tasted the goodness of God. Hebrews 6. It's hard to bring them back because they are nailing the Son of God back to the cross. You want to make Him dough again. When He was on the cross as a dough, everyone came and wanted to add their own reason. Everyone wanted to add on the dough. Everyone wanted to add. The soldiers, the sinners, the Pharisees. They even wanted to feed Him vain. It was a receipt. They wanted to add on the dough. It was it. What? It was a dough. Anyone could just touch. But after he comes out of the grave, Mary Magdalene tries to say, don't touch me yet. The bread has already been baked. So don't touch me. Let me first go to the Father. Let me go to the oven. So after I pass through the oven, your prayers will be fulfilled. Father, give us our daily bread. Let your kingdom come. So the kingdom will come. The bread will come. Why? The dough has finished its course. The dough has finished its course. So therefore he comes, be careful of the yeast of the Pharisees. I want you to understand now.